We talked about the basics of microscopy. We did the cell identification, and then she did the LMD, microdissection, separation of cells, and then we did the lab. I think is that what we did today? I mean,
That's it, but did they notice how the laser worked? Did they notice going to different objectives, things like that? Did you, again, goes back to some of the microscopy that we did. Did you ever think about resolution, magnification? How when you put it on a big screen, it's a lot different magnification, but the resolution, your better looks at it, when you have a better objective, you can see, identify better when you're at 63x, but is a compromise on speed. Kind of Kelly put the timer on you on how many you can cut fast. Obviously, at 200 or 400x, you can move through them a lot faster, cut through them a lot faster. But if you ever want to do a really good identification, you might want to go up to 63x objective and do a really good identification, especially if you're looking at a sample that may only have 1, 2, 3, or 4 sperm in the whole sample. The laser, did you notice the cut? Y'all haven't seen the slow one like we have it. Y'all's cut kind of zip, and ours kind of goes zip.
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit longer. And other thing, this is Florida. Did y'all identify the chads in there? Did y'all have any of the hanging chads?
It's very fitting.
It happens everywhere. The other thing you can look at is the static electricity. Sometimes the sample will flip over and stick on there. What y'all used popped it with the laser to knock it off sometimes, or did it hang and did you practice using the cutting edge to cut those off to get those to drop? Things like that. Did you notice the dropping? When I talked about the Leica microscope versus the other microscope that drops versus picks up. This is one that drops. If you have one, if you look at someone else's microscope, like MMI or some of the other ones that has a sticky top, you might see, do you like it better when it picks it up, or do you like it better when it cuts and drops it off? Static electricity and hanging pieces are common to all the different types. It's not just this type of microscope.
Of course, one of the other features about this particular software, I'm not sure what the other ones do, but that you could inspect the tube itself for your cuttings. And I know a group of us did that, and we could, they only cut 5 sperm or 5 cuts. We could only find 3 of our pieces, so we said, well, let's just cut a couple more just in case. So that's kind of handy in that way, especially if you're cutting very few. It's kind of helpful to be able to look into that cap to see, did you collect everything? Did some of them stick and you don't know it? I think I know I'm going to go into static a little more tomorrow. I'm not sure if Christine is, because that is a little bit of an issue. And then, of course, the lab itself, I think it probably helped for you all after we spoke to do some of this stuff. And then I think then it would be, I think if you have any questions, is there something that you thought of that you didn't get a chance to ask, or that you wanted to discuss just by observing in working on the microscope? Just open just talk, let's be open, because again, we talked about this being in the infancy, so
is there anything that you looked at today and thought about says, wow, this could be done on something else? Did you ever that cross your mind? Or you're still in the stage, okay, I'm learning how to do it, I'm learning how to operate the microscope, but at some point you're going to say, what else, what other types of evidence can I use this on? What other applications are there? What can be done with this? I mean, that's some stuff that's out there. People don't know all of what we can do with this. I heard you asked me a couple of things about the hair root. I know what I explained to you was when we had some trouble cutting the hairs. Remember, we had to just go almost like saw the laser back and forth and cut, and still weren't able to cut the hair root off.
But we have the older model too.
Yes,
no,
we have
a
little bit less powerful laser, so it might do that.
Slow the laser down.
The other thing you ask for fetal cells in sexual assaults or paternities where you get fetal cells. We haven't really tried that. Is there a good way to identify the fetal cells in a microscope?
Well, Zoran did at the OCME. He has a paper.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I know that they use. Was the palm?
No, that was the Arcturus. Actually, the older Arcturus.
Okay.
Model, they did that.
I think that's in the binders, isn't it?
Yeah. It's the first paper.
So there's a good article in there about that. But yes, there are lots of I think that if you really start thinking about this, maybe tonight while you're sleeping even, I think there's going to be lots of applications, or at least hopefully there'll be. What's nice about doing laser microdissection, it probably won't apply to one thing in your lab. So that's another good sell to your bosses. You know, there might be other applications like doing fetal tissue, being able to separate the mother from the child, the different cells. You know, possibly hair, cutting off the root, you know, being able to mount it or put it on the slide and maybe cut it. So that's another good way to sell to your lab is, you know, really I think there's going to be more applications to this maybe once people start thinking about it and using it.
How many of the labs here have POC collections that are getting done with kits? Would you mind asking that question?
What's POC? I don't know if I know what that is.
Product conception.
With kits? Gosh, I don't know. I don't think we do with our kit.
We just get a container.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently no one in here.
I know one lab that I know of that does some of those. They actually get it very fresh, and they actually grow the cells. They'll grow the fetal cells, so they get pure culture and tissue culture, and they can take them very, very early. As long as there's chorionic villi there, they can take that tissue, which they say is very easy to identify, and they just tweeze it out of the uterine tissue and placental tissue, and they can grow that as a cell culture, and then just do the analysis on the cell culture. They never, but then again, no crime lab really gets fresh tissue and can start working on it as soon as it walks through the door.
No.
That's a dream world in crime laboratories.
So is there anything anyone's thinking about, a question? Don't be afraid.
We all want you to come back tomorrow. There's going to be some really neat stuff.
I mean, I think a lot of you have already started asking some key questions, so that's good. I mean, your brains are obviously, you know, working, and you've already asked some key questions, and I'm like, come back tomorrow, we're going to talk about it.
And these are some stuff that we're working has actually been done on real casework samples. Maybe not cases that would go to court, but I'm talking about cases or samples that were collected by same nurses and part of a regular investigation, but the case has been put aside or set aside for not being prosecuted. And we've actually been able to work on some of these samples and do some of these techniques that we're talking about now and some of the new techniques that we're going to talk about tomorrow. So this is not just dream world in the sense that we really haven't done them on casework samples, but Kelly and I know
I've
you've
just done a little bit. I've just started to, because I'm now getting to the point where I think I've validated the procedure now where I can say, okay, I think I've optimized it, now I'm going to try to start doing some of the non-probatives and stuff. But I've just started that. So I have a little bit, but not a lot.
We have about 5 probative cases, the rape kits that were used to collect samples appropriate for laser microdissection. I'll leave it at that. So hopefully we'll come back tomorrow. Well, you'll come back tomorrow.
But if you don't have any,
but it'd be really neat. I mean, some of this stuff is going to be really amazing.
No questions. We'll let them simmer tonight. Well, I guess that we're done then.
Thank you all.